Today, I'll tell you all how my wedding came to an abrupt halt when I read my vows. My fiancé and I met through co-workers in a group setting. We had a mutual friend named David, who happened to be my best friend. It was great that he got along well with the girl I started dating and later proposed to, so I asked him to be my best man at the wedding. My fiancée was thrilled when she found out and thought it was a perfect choice. I had a slight suspicion about her excitement, but since she was also friends with him, I didn't think much of it. Fast forward to the week before the wedding, my soon-to-be bride seemed really excited and was on her phone a lot. I assumed she was just busy with wedding planning. She would stop and ask me about minor decisions, and I didn't mind as long as it made her happy. But now, knowing what I know, I feel like she might have fabricated things to keep me from suspecting she was communicating with another man, my best man to be precise. We had our bachelor parties on the same night, which I thought was cool. However, I was really disappointed when my best man called to say he couldn't make it to the party he had planned for me. He told me his mother was unexpectedly in the hospital and he needed to be with her. I should have given him the benefit of the doubt, right? I feel so bad now for being heartless and suspecting him. Anyway, that night I had a bunch of friends with me. We're an active bunch, so before heading to an upscale lounge downtown, we played some basketball outside and then cleaned up nicely. I was feeling like a king, and I hope my fiancée felt the same way. It's interesting because at that point we were already living together, but we decided to wait until after the wedding for intimacy. Let me tell you, it was tougher than I expected. We took turns sleeping on the pull-out bed in the living room each night. When I got back home after the party, my fiancée was already asleep in our bed, looking like an angel who had a great time. I tucked her in, but as I glanced around, I noticed a shiny gold cufflink on the floor by the bed. It caught my attention because my fiancé didn't have any cufflinks, and I only had one pair that looked different from the one I found. That got me thinking, could this mean another guy was in our bedroom? I started rubbing my face and neck in frustration. It was stressing me out, and right at that moment, my fiancé's phone buzzed. It was set to vibrate, but I could hear it on the nightstand. So I took a peek at her messages, and one conversation with my best man stood out to me. The most recent text I saw from him was sent 4 hours ago at 9 p.m. As I kept scrolling up, I realized she had invited him to her bachelorette party, even though that's not how things usually go. But it got worse when I saw their earlier messages. She told him that tonight was going to be their night, because the next day she would be with me. He asked if he could have her again sometime, and she kind of teased him, saying he might if he tempted her enough. There were messages from months ago where they went from being just friends to getting flirty. He started asking about her body, and she sent him pictures. They even made plans to hang out one day when I thought she was at work. Later, he messaged her asking if they should have done that, and she replied saying she was sure about it. In just 1 hour, I went from being happy about getting married to feeling heartbroken and wanting revenge. I took 6 screenshots of the worst messages they exchanged and planned to read them during the vows. It was going to be awful. I deleted all evidence of collecting those messages and then took some NyQuil to knock myself out. The next morning, she was already gone. She left me a handwritten note saying she left early to get her hair and makeup done, but I knew what was really going on. Picture this: you're all dressed up, excited for a great day, and then someone drops a bombshell, calling you a cheater in front of everyone. What a way to ruin things, right? At that moment, I was feeling bitter. I didn't miss her or want her to apologize. I was done with her because I couldn't believe how much I loved her while she had someone else on the side. I put in so much effort to look good, smell great, and have my hair on point. Part of me felt like it was pointless, but I convinced myself it was still worth it. I thought about telling my dad what I had planned to do, but I didn't want him to talk me out of it or warn others. Just then, my best friend texted me asking if I was heading to the venue. When I got there, he greeted me outside, looking all sharp, but I had one thing on my mind: cufflinks. As a bit of a gamble, I pretended to notice he was missing one, even though I couldn't really tell. He was taken aback, and I could see he felt embarrassed. He said he must have lost it somewhere, that it got caught on something. I asked to take a close look at the one he had in case I somehow found its match. His heart was pounding, and he was sweating like crazy. It was so entertaining to see him like that, but I acted clueless about it all. So he showed me the cufflink, and guess what? It was an exact match to the one I had in my pocket. In that moment, I looked at him dead serious for a few painful seconds. I was trying my best not to scream or punch him. He could tell something was up and asked if I was all right. I snapped out of it and put on a fake smile, telling him that everything was fine because, hey, I was getting married today. Right then, I smacked him hard on the back, making him jump a bit. After some mind-numbing mingling in the grand procession, I walked into the venue, but I couldn't help but think that I never wanted a traditional wedding again. It all felt so dumb and meaningless, and just when my almost wife walked down the aisle, looking stunning as ever, all those memories of how we met and our time together flooded my mind. It was so damn unfair, and I couldn't hold back my tears. People around me noticed that these weren't happy tears. I was devastated. I managed to keep it together until the celebrant asked if I wanted to read my vows. That was the moment I started reading messages between James and my fiancée, mentioning the date and time of each one. At first, people were probably wondering what I was up to, but as they listened, they realized these were flirty messages, not something they'd be proud of. Things got pretty awkward as they started to fidget uncomfortably and look around, realizing that everyone in the building was staring at them. My bride asked what I was doing and what I was reading on my phone when I got another text. She told me to stop, but then I went ahead and read those really inappropriate messages out loud. He was saying some explicit stuff about wanting to be with her again, and she was inviting him over because I had left the house. As I read those messages, people started whispering and talking among themselves, and my fiancé tried to snatch my phone from me. My best man suddenly walked out, followed by 5 of my groomsmen, and there I was, shouting that I had pictures and videos of the messages they had sent each other, offering to share them with anyone interested. That made some folks get up and leave. The celebrant had the nerve to ask if we were still going to get married, and I couldn't help but laugh loudly and sarcastically. My ex was now on her knees, crying in her white dress at the altar. Her bridesmaids were clueless, just standing there frozen. Maybe some of them knew about her affair with him, or saw them being all flirty. It was satisfying to see that no one rushed to console her. I had enough of the whole drama. My head was throbbing from it all. I stepped outside to check on my best man. Turns out he was cornered by those 5 guys, yelling and screaming at him in disbelief for betraying me like that. At that moment, I was just done with it. My head was pounding, and I had enough of the whole mess. I got the revenge I wanted, and all I wanted to do now was take a nap. I told those guys to back off and let my best man go, saying that keeping him here wouldn't help anything. As they stepped back, my almost bride came running out of the venue, being chased by her bridesmaids, who were giving her a hard time and calling her terrible names. She ran behind my best man's car for about 10 yards before he saw her in the mirror and stopped. She got in, and they drove off. I turned around and saw a bunch of our wedding guests watching the whole scene. It was like they were in some grief counseling session, offering me hugs and words of advice. It was weird, but at least they were there for me, and, well, those people weren't her friends anymore. They both lost the support and contact they used to have from our circle of family and friends. They ended up moving out of state together, but their relationship didn't last long. They lived together for just a year before my ex moved back in with her disappointed and critical parents. What a waste of time it all was. After all this mess, she had the audacity to ask me out again, and I just called her crazy. As for my best friend, he never reached out, but honestly, that's fine. I can't be friends with him anymore anyway. Luckily, my friends and family were there for me, never letting me give up hope or get too down. I haven't started dating again yet, but I have my eye on a good girl I'm thinking of asking out. It's crazy to think that someone would be committed only to me, but my ex planted a seed of doubt in my mind. So now I take my time getting close to people. I ask them anything I want to know and share my past experiences with them so they understand where I'm coming from.